So before we start, and again, you will probably notice a little bit of nervousness on my end, but kind of like
Mhm.
bringing into this topic, I would like to ask you, how do you handle the nerves? How do you handle, difficult situations in your life or things that sometimes you don't completely have control, like total control over it? Do you have a kind of like a technique for relaxing your mind before you do or get into something very important, or is it more like take it as it goes?
Well, it depends on the type of issue or problem that I'm encountering. So I have several different techniques that I use. So the it ranges from something that's very simple to something that's of a grander scale, sort of. So the simple fix to eliminate the nervousness would usually be to drink coffee because I really love coffee. So coffee doesn't
Great.
wake me up anymore, but it does make me very happy. So when I'm happy, well, of course, when we're happy, we're in our comfort zone. So I drink coffee and then I can go about my day. Even if I'm feeling nervous, it's kind of toned down because of coffee. So coffee is the best for sure. So that's the first one. And then the grander scale technique would be really just to break things into smaller pieces. So I would have, when I'm starting to feel very overwhelmed, I pause for a while, take a step back and think, okay, wait. So what exactly am I really overwhelmed with? What am I scared of? So I try to break down the whole situation into little pieces. And then one thing that really works for me is I write things down. I write what I have to do down because there's something that's very satisfying when you're crossing off stuff from your to-do list. It just feels really nice. So once I'm able to cross off the things little by little, that's how I the nervousness weans off, and then eventually I realize, okay, well, we got everything done. I mean, I was overwhelmed earlier, and of course, we would naturally feel very tired after that because it was a big workload or a big task. But eventually, we got things done in the end. So yeah, that's the technique.
That's the secret of it. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bienvenidos a una nueva emisión de Puntos de Experiencia.
I sometimes, well, most of the times, I don't like to be, you know, very lean towards omitting certain opinions. And I try to be really impartial in almost a lot of access in my life. But I gotta say that given how this month has been with these features over female Pokemon Go players that started throughout the very first week of March towards this last interview. Well, I don't like to call them interviews. I like to just call them like conversations that you have. I like to say that I'm very, very excited and happy and very enthusiastic about having you as a guest uh, for a lot of reasons. And as we get to talk and as we get to cover different points, I guess that there are for the people that normally listen this emissions in Spanish, it will probably be able to show this let's call it, probably they get to also share the excitement of finding out this way of seeing life and these perspectives coming from someone that is not from Latin America or Mexico or any other Spanish speaking countries. Which it's a little bit ironic because for as far as I understand, the Philippines can get some Spanish talking in certain ways.
Yes. Yes. So the funny thing there is, so a little bit of history about the Philippines. we were actually colonized by Spain for 333 years.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's why our native tongue is actually there are certain words that we have borrowed from Spanish. Like actually back in the day my parents were had to take Spanish in, I think it was college. Yeah, so they had to
Wow.
study the language, and then from time to time they would be speaking to me and my sister in Spanish, but just in bits and pieces. So we do, even before attempting to study Spanish, I already knew what la mesa was or la silla, yeah, those kinds of things, because they would use that in regular conversations. So yeah, I mean, I would like to think that Spanish, actually, well, Latin American countries and the Philippines are somehow linked in that regard.
It's kind of like a very special line that in very selected countries it kind of like gets to happen, and I
Mhm.
guess that it's, I don't know, for I know people and friends, or I used to know people and friends that uh, because of college they would also know people from other parts of the world, including the Philippines, and they would feel like this, I don't know. It's kind of like you're saying, this intrinsic, or there's very
Yeah.
uh kind of like special that you don't always get with a lot of countries. Link and
Yeah.
friendship that you get to get is different from the rest of the world. So so Reezachi, again, thank you for taking this time to be able to come to the podcast to share some of your, as it calls, some points of experience with all our listeners. Um, it's really interesting to be able to, again, coming from this feature of understanding how not only the way that Pokemon Go players can be able to relate to certain things that are not necessarily special or exclusive to the game, and how those experiences have been able to shape their path over the years ever since joining the community. Most of the times that we able to to discuss these points, it goes from when they first downloaded the game, or even way before them, before the announcement on the app being released throughout the world, and in this case from Latin America. There were experiences in how, just by being um, linked and somehow exposed to the media, started to get them into joining this community. So for me, it would be very interesting to know how does the impact that you get from Pokemon started. What, when you were a child? What was it from? Um, I don't know. Probably could be from the anime itself, from the games. There are only people that even get started by the comic, that the manga that came in into Japan. So
Mhm.
it would really interesting for me to know how it started. How it started for you.
All right. So, well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's really an honor. I mean, I did not expect and I did not see that coming. I was very surprised when I saw your message. I was
Surprise!
like, hmm, okay. So, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Well, so as for my Pokemon origin story, I guess we can call it like that. So, my love for Pokemon, well, I first encountered Pokemon through my cousin, my younger cousin. So, he was playing, if I'm not mistaken, it was Pokemon Red on his Game Boy. So
Wow.
he was showing me how it was done, and I was like, okay, that's very cool. So we got the, I think he chose Charmander. Yeah, I think we got his Charmander up to level 18, and we were trying to get through this particular area that had a tree. So of course you would have to use HM cut,
Yeah.
right? So we couldn't get past that area, and then we just got lazy after that. But we still tried to battle the Pokemon around there, tried to catch them and all that. So that was my introduction to Pokemon. So however, I didn't get to have my own game at that time. So it wasn't until like years after, so many years later, that I was able to get my own game. So that was actually Pokemon Crystal. So
Wow.
it was, yes. So it was my first Game Boy, a Game Boy Color, and the variant that I chose was the Atomic Purple. It was so cool. It looked very cool. But prior to that, I was already able to play the games on an emulator on a ROM for Windows PC. So that's how I would play the game. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess my love for Pokemon just naturally carried on through the years. And then eventually Pokemon Go arrived. So it wasn't readily available in the Philippines at the start. So June 6th, of course, as we would all know, that was when Pogo was born. I was able to download the APK.
Ma?
But so after I got my first Pokemon, which was Charmander, because I really love Charmander. So after I got my first Pokemon, I couldn't do anything else because of the, what do you call that? Geofencing. Yeah, that's the term.
Oh,
So everything else was geofenced. So I had to pause for a while and then pick up the game again September. Yeah, in September. So there was a gap, but of course, if you've loved Pokemon ever since, you don't really, feel that gap so much. You just really keep looking forward to the new events, the new features, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's how I got to where I am with Pogo.
it's really nice, and I think one of the personal favorites that or in terms of stories or background stories that I like to hear from guests is when that discovery doesn't necessarily be like happen by itself, but usually comes in thanks to friends, or in this case, thanks to family. And I think that it's very special. I remember one particular case that it was Tessa Gray actually mentioned that throughout her family, her sister and her mother also developed that likeness to the game.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, and for it really becomes more than just a like a pastime, or just being able to play a game just because you like it. It becomes truly something of an experience that you can share at any point with, again, in this case it would be with your sister, or with some friends in other people's cases. And you grow up, you develop memories that, even though it could come in many other shapes and forms, in one very special way, it's linked to the game. So I just know, I feel like it's very, like, it gives it a very special touch when family is involved, because usually
Oh
there
yeah.
will be a point in which probably family you're like, and I would think, for example, my parents, um in this case, they will look at me playing certain games even now at this age, and they will feel like, oh, like, cool that you play it, fine by fine by us. There's really nothing more or less special about that. But when, again, when people and other close people to you gets to also enjoy those experiences, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my whole family does play. So my dad, in fact, is super intense. So the first thing he would do in the morning is to get his phone and play Pogo.
Nice.
And then when my mom wakes up, she would be like, "Okay, what are you doing? Oh, okay, you're playing. Okay, yeah, got it, got it." And then when I come down for breakfast, I would see all of them playing. So yeah, I don't know if I've created something beautiful or monsters out of them, because now they're super intense and super into Pogo. So yeah, but
That,
yeah, I,
that
I do agree. It's really a good like bonding activity
that
for sure.
happens now with my spouse. They were really not into Pokemon Go as much as they are now, and
Mhm.
it probably was one on Monday that we went out and did some rocket grunts.
Mhm.
I told them I'm just going to walk down, come back, and we originally just went out because they also wanted to see, flower bloomings. Right now here it's a spring, so certain cherry blossoms are also blooming. There are just certain flowers, and they wanted to take pictures. And I assumed that they were going to be doing that. When I came back, they were doing gyms, and at a point they told me, "Well, you created a monster. You created a Pokemon Go monster that is going to do raids and going to do battles." And I was like, I could, I
Yep.
guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go
no, no,
ahead.
no, don't go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that, it well, in a sense, sometimes games can get pretty addictive. So when you're doing it with family, there's always this thing at the back of your mind when you're also regulating yourself because you want to enjoy the experience with them rather than alone, which is what starts the addiction where you are just focused on that single thing. But if you're sharing it with others, then they have to be part of the whole experience. So
Right.
yeah.
No, and in this case, I don't know. For example, if it goes the same to you, I would assume that it goes to a certain extent because I sometimes remember looking at your reviews from Pokemon community days or for certain events, and there would be this post in which you would show, a very dedicated grind. There will be other times in which you show that it's more like a chill out event. I guess that it really depends on the
Mhm.
players. Because where we live is not a very big city, my grind, even though I want to make it, profitable, is usually doesn't benefit from just being in a small town. But my spouse,
Mhm.
for example, it understands that, and they know that at a certain point we can enjoy the experience together, but at a different time, I could just go ahead and do as many
Oh yeah.
missions and things and whatnot. Um,
Yeah.
so back on September, this is when the app kind of like gets that geofencing removed for you. Um,
Mhm.
how did the first approach to the community happen for you? Was it mostly local people that you knew at the time that also started playing? Was it more uh, family, like again, like your sister, your relatives, kind of like did,
Mhm.
or eventually you ended up becoming more and more known within your local community?
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, at first I was really just playing alone, usually, well, on my way to work and on my way home. So because of course the vehicle would be moving, I would usually be taking the public transport back in the day. So that's the only time I would play. But I didn't get really immersed in the game until raids were introduced. So when raids were introduced, I was really lucky enough to be working in an area that first had a lot of gyms
Mhm.
and second had a lot of Pokemon Go players who were working in the area as well. So
Oh,
it was through the raids that I was really able to connect with people because I mean, honestly, it might not seem like it, but I'm actually extremely introverted. I can just stay in a corner and be quiet the whole day. If I could blend into a wall, I would do that. I'm really, really quiet. It just doesn't seem like it. but
I
but
get you.
because of raids, of course, right? You have to interact with people. You have to ask, hey, are you actually doing that Logia over there? Because we need more people. So yeah, I was forced, I guess, to interact with all of those people. But it was nice. It was through the raids that I was really able to get in touch with some of my closest friends in Pokemon Go. Um, and then after that, wait, are we still connected?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Yeah, my video is lagging a bit on my end though. But if it's okay on your end, that's
No,
fine.
don't worry. Don't
So
worry. It's
yeah,
okay.
all right. So going back, yeah. So because of the race, I got to interact with some of my closest friends, and then after a while, I guess it's a natural progression of the game. The feature started to lose its magic for me. Like, okay, we're reading, we're tapping the screen all the time, and then what gives? What benefit do I get out of that? And then eventually they started to introduce PvP. So
Mhm.
that was what really excited me because in the main series games, I would always like to build competitive teams. I used to compete in the global ladder way, way back. That was like so many years ago. So when they introduced PvP, I got really excited. And then sadly, though, my local community wasn't into PvP as much as I was. So
Mhm.
I tried to join other communities just nearby, though, near my work area. And then eventually I found Go Stadium. So it was through Go Stadium that I really was able to, I guess, widen my network, my Pokemon Go network. It was there that I met so many people. And then yeah, the rest is history. Because of Go Stadium and PvP really opened up the doors for me to get to interact with so many more amazing players.
Mhm. And up to this day, they're still creating a lot of connections and a lot of networking with not only people from, that also, and kind of like just brings this enhancement to the experience of Pokemon Go, but try to expand their, again, this way of interacting, and providing those tools, and providing these opportunities to meet, and get to be inviting the community in other parts of the world. Going back a little
Mhm.
bit over that question that I asked at the very beginning, that jump from just being able to experience the game by yourself, and going into starting to meet new people, did it felt like you're saying a little bit more of a challenge to you eventually? Do you remember kind of like what made you take that jump into talking with people and trying to coordinate rates, plans, or was it more of a, because there was the necessity, I just did it?
Yeah, just mostly the necessity, honestly. I have to be honest. It was mostly the necessity. I realized that I would never be able to do Articuno raids with just, two other people. That would be impossible at that time. And I guess it also helped that I did get to interact with female players earlier on. So of course, we would naturally stick with each other, the girls. So I approached the girls, and then these girls actually knew some of the male players.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a chain of events, honestly. And then in terms of really trying this deciding, I guess, yeah, it's a decision. In terms of deciding to establish friendships with all of these people, it took a very long time. So we were reading, we were having little conversations, and then eventually, during the late night grinds, you would start to talk about life, and then principles, perspectives, and all that, future plans. So because of those little conversations while we were throwing Pokeballs at everything. So that was how we started to form the bonds. That was how I started to get a bit more immersed. But definitely, it was a decision. My boss always tells me that if you want to get something done, it has to be very intentional. You have to plan for it. You have to really put yourself in that rather awkward situation, because otherwise, things won't happen.
Right. It kind of like has to be a barrier breaker to move forward
Yeah.
in, well, I
Yeah.
get, in this case, call it a quote unquote trivial thing, because in the end it's a game, but eventually it becomes an
Mm.
experience, and then it becomes friendship bonds, and then it becomes, plans that you do with life. So in the end, it's something that transcends. It's something that, if, and kind of like escalates, if I can do this
Yeah.
with just a simple game with one or two people that I get to talk with because I want to do a raid, or I want to check something of the game, then what stops me from trying to deal with other aspects like work, like, other
Yes.
kinds of communities or relationships? So
Yeah.
it's those things that amazes me in how players and us, when we look at the game, kind of like, how do we translate all of that into our everyday life? it's
Mhm.
it's part of the magic, I guess. um
Yeah.
um Back into, and I usually bring this topic a lot with, or I have been able to bring this topic a lot with the other guests. Back when the pandemic hit, throughout the world back in 2020, we know that the game really faced a lot of, like a very big hold in a lot of aspects, but also in the people that already were getting into the game. It just completely um, put a stop, like a momentary stop, about, if they people only did raids, then that's great. They only did raids. They didn't do anything else. But to everyone that kind of like
Mhm.
just wanted to be out there and play and do other types of activities, it really screw us in a very bad way. Um,
Yeah.
how was that experience for you? How did you dealt with what was back then that confinement for everyone, and your interest of continuing playing the game?
I guess I was fortunate enough to have a home stop. So that's first, because otherwise, I think, I mean, it might seem like a small thing, but it would impact my gameplay really, by a huge margin, simply because I do love getting into a routine. So what I would usually do is in the morning I would do all of my dailies first, and then put the game aside, do my work, and then pick it up again in the evening or when I'm feeling very stressed and I just need to, distract myself for a bit. But during the pandemic, it was really tough because what you would usually be able to catch just one mon, spin one stop, and everything. So at one point, I did feel that my interest in Pogo was waning. But of course, the love for Pokemon was still there, and I guess that was what really kept the game alive for me. My just really my love for the franchise, the whole franchise, and then again, it was an active decision to try to get more into GBL because more of a fan of the show 6 pick 3 format. Silph was really a wonderful experience for me because of Go Stadium again. And then, so to keep myself engaged, I told myself, well, I'm stuck at home and I need to do something outside of work to keep myself sane. Might as well try to do GBL, really get to know the matchups more. So even if, I mean, as you would know, GBL can be a bit frustrating at times, but it still is a pretty good distraction. I mean, it's important to not just do work all the time. There has to be a balance. And then, even then with GBL, let's say I'm having a very tough run, I put the game aside and then I look at pictures of cats to distract myself, to make myself feel better because they're very, very cute. And then I go back to what I'm doing. I go back to trying to, I analyze actually the teams and think, okay, maybe I could have done this better. Maybe this should have been the play. Maybe, okay, I might have won this match, but if I recall correctly, I could have won it more convincingly. So yeah, the progression there was really, I started to do Steam at first, and
Mhm.
then I made an active decision to really pick up GBL. And then that's how I was able to maintain my interest up to now. And really, it's mostly because of the people, really getting to interact with the people that I've met. Um, and I think, to be honest, at this point, it's what's really keeping me hooked on the game. I don't want to lose that connection with people. I mean, granted, I've already established a really good relationship with those friends, those really close people who are close to my heart, that I met through Pokemon Go. But still, it's really nice to have that, really tiny thing, or that really, how would I call it? Well, I guess the shallow thing,
Yeah.
that shallow connection through a game. And then, of course, you're already connected through your principles and all that. But to have that one thing that you can enjoy and you wouldn't have to think about that much. You just, be playing, catching Pokemon. I think that's nice. So, yeah.
In the end, I feel that point and probably everything that happened from the build up of releasing the app onto the the global confinement that affected all of us kind of like put a point in which made us a lot of us think, well, what can we do with the game? How and not only with the game, like the game was there, but there were already friends that we met along the way. There were already communities that we were in, and obviously, like we're saying, those things go beyond to what the game really is. A lot of people already had like great friendships that started because of Pokemon Go. A lot of people ended up traveling because of that very same reason. So how do you keep just into that circle, into that way of way of living life with something that kind of like gets stuck? And I know that for a lot of people, actually, like you're saying, a lot of people decided to start getting into GBL. And what's more, a lot of other people started to going into GBL, but also into streaming. So they became content creators. They became
Mhm.
people that already had certain kind of grind previously from the game and said, well, if I'm just going to be stuck here and I can just include some of the other people into the community, well, why not show these battles, these matches in
Mhm.
a stream? You know,
Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
did you did you could you say that you were really exposed to that aspect of the game during the pandemic, or that kind of like just became after or close to the end of it?
Oh yeah, I was really into watching a lot of streams. So you know what? To be completely honest, I do not know how I started watching streams. I guess it just happened. I was well, I guess one aspect of it would be, I was seeing my friends stream. I wanted to support them. So I would go to Twitch all the time. And then eventually Twitch just became part of my daily activities. Like, yeah, if I'm not doing anything, I immediately go to Twitch. I just look at the Pokemon Go category and click whatever I see there. It, yeah, so I was really immersed in the streaming community. I did not want to stream. I just wanted to mod for my friends, just wanted to support. But I think you're right. I do agree with what you said. We don't have anything really to do much with the game, so might as well involve other people, try to interact with them while we're doing our battles. Just really nice.
Yeah, and at the end, I think that that was one of the reasons that eventually make the this exposure to the game widen, because a lot
Mhm.
of people that were Pokemon fans didn't know that this aspect of a mobile app, that at the time all people only knew that it was just Pokemon catching, like catching Pokemon in real life, also had
Yeah,
battles and also had people that
yeah.
were into that kind of content. Could you
Mhm.
remember some of the very first like, probably there are a couple of content creators right now that you started watching back then and that you continue to watch up to this day, but can you remember some of them, or the very first few that you started watching them?
Huh. Well, of course, there's the classic King. Yeah, I've
Mm,
been watching King ever since. It was through him that I really learned some of the what do you call this? The techniques and the strategies. And I guess while Susan Boyle as well. Yeah.
wow.
When he did this, oh sorry, it was when Ghost Stadium tapped him to do a video on QSA. So that was how I got to how I got exposed to Wild Susan Boyle. Then I started following him for the strategies and techniques, and TC Spanks, of course. So Spanks would be one of those cases where, since he's my friend, I started to support him. So like in the beginning, he would only have like what 14 viewers or something. He'd be
Yeah.
very candidly interacting with everyone, and then now he's grown into this really amazing and big content creator. So yeah, I think off the top of my head, really those three.
Um, uh, I take the opportunity to just then big greetings to all of them again. King, Walsos and Boyle, obviously they're very great pilars of what the like the communication of these strategies have been able to be helpful for a lot of people. On the Latin American side, of course, TC Expense has also been one of the great teachers for a lot of us, me included. So it's really nice to be able to give also that visibility to them, because up to this day they continue to create this amazement, and also that evolution that they show, because again we go through just showing the matches to actually becoming uh very great at what they do, not only just show things that we can use and understand, but also become entertaining. They become part of this, and we just love to embrace it. Let's talk a little bit about trips. I don't know, and I would really like to know, for example, if at certain point the game has been able to provide the opportunity for you to go to other parts of the world to do some events. I know that you participated into the Oceania. Was it the Oceania international tournaments, or was it regional?
No, it was a regional in Asia Pacific, but it was
Asia.
only done online.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, but so to answer your question, yes, I did travel for Pokemon Go already. So, if I'm not, I think it's twice. Yeah, first one would be for the Taiwan Safari Zone. Yeah,
Wow.
Taiwan Safari Zone. So, I was with two of my friends. We were super hardcore. We were walking around the city the whole time, and I think yeah, we went super hardcore that both my slippers and my friend's slippers actually broke
Oh
So
no.
we were in the middle of the Gengar raids thing. We were chasing, we were chasing the next raid, and then our slippers broke, and we were like, "Oh no, wait! But we need to get to the next raid." So
No.
that was a very funny experience, and it was fun. I mean, the food was great. That the food was great, and then through that safari zone as well, you were able to get our, what's the name of that, chatot. There you go. Yeah,
Oh,
we were able to get our chatot. It was our Dex entry. So we got in touch with some people via Discord that time. Then we met up with them in Taiwan.
that's
So that
nice.
was the first. And the second one was the Sentosa, I think it's a safari zone as well. So I went with my whole family. The funny thing is, I did not join the raffle actually, but so I was telling my family, oh, there's an event in Singapore. It would be nice to be there. But at that time, I think I was saving up for another trip.
Hmm.
So they were like, let's just sign up for it. I mean, it's a lottery system. There's nothing to lose by signing up. So I told them, yeah, I mean, if you want to go there, go. But I won't participate anymore. I'm saving up for something. So they went ahead and joined. They actually won the raffle. All of them, all three of them, my parents and my sister, and I didn't have a ticket.
Oh no.
So they were like, okay, but you have to come with us. You were the one who introduced us to Pogo. The funny thing is, the same friend whose slipper broke, he actually entered the lottery with and signed up my name and my other friend's name as well. And
Wow,
then he
that's
won
so nice.
tickets. Yeah, exactly. So perfect timing. So I was able to join my family in Sentosa. It was a very amazing experience because we were playing along the beach. So that was really nice.
That
Imagine just, going barefoot and then seeing that big lapras floaty on the beach. That was so cool. And then all of the people there were just really chilling. People were running around in the beach, well, with their phones tapping like that. It was very, very funny. So yeah, that was that was a funny experience, but really entertaining as well. I mean, really, getting to play with your family. I think that's something very special.
that and it was an experience that for almost this bit you were probably going to be able to miss, which is kind of like the most crazy part of it. Was like it kind of like
Yeah.
seemed like the game really wanted you to to look at how it was and say, hey, you're missing this opportunity with your family. I'm just gonna throw it at you, and you're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. It's like the game already knew that it would be a good experience for me, and it was. And it was. I can't remember exactly if I got any regionals there. Um. Oh, I just remembered. That was when Shiny Lapras was released.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes. So people were screaming when
oh
they
my
got their
god.
shinies because they didn't see it coming. They didn't realize that the event just, the shiny just got unlocked. And then, of course, my mom has the best luck when it comes to shinies. Her
It
first
always.
Lapras, she clicked it and, oh, it looks different. And we were like, Mom, that's a shiny. That was fun. That was really fun. I mean, thinking about it now, yeah, that was so funny.
I'm getting this sense with every interview that goes by that for whatever reason, all the family members of the guests, it happened with Tessa. I think that it also happened. A lot has happened with Morita's mom when she used to play the game. But I'm
Yes.
I'm seeing this tendency of the loved ones having more luck they get introduced to the game that the actual players is. I don't know what at that point.
Well, I guess it's the game's way of making them stay in the game because I mean us hardcores we would always keep playing.
Right.
But the game's like, okay, I know they're a bit more casual than you are. Let's give them more shinies. Let's give them more hundos.
L-
My sister randomly gets hundos every day.
oh, it's like let's just give them this one thing that you were trying to grind for so long, for so many days, just right off the bat. And just for example, remind me of when I started to introduce my spouse to it. I remember
Mhm.
one of the best big like the first big events that we had was the LOL on Geodude Community Day, and just
Yeah.
random casually they get a shundo, and it's like, oh well, you got a shundo. It's like For me, it
Oh
was like,
my god.
sure, take that luck.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think my first,
Congratulations.
yeah, I think that for me, my first shondo came like, it was not that, I mean, it was relatively not that far ago. It was the Hisuian Avalok Raid Day.
Oh,
So it was completely
wow.
with an amount of time, and they haven't been able to open the app for, for long, relatively long amount of
Mhm.
time. They just get a random show, but it just tells to, that those are the experiences that you gain when family and friends are involved.
Yeah.
Um, so, for example, let's also discuss. Well, we already discussed the aspect of these events, these really nice events that happen. Um, some by luck, some by really planned activities.
Mhm.
But let's also talk briefly about what did that competition, the regional competition, meant for you. How
Oh.
did you end up going with that idea of saying, I'm going to get in, I'm going to do my best? How did you prepare? We would really like, I guess that we would really like to know what experience meant to you.
Mhm. All right. So, to be completely honest, my lifelong dream has always been to be a Pokemon master up until now. So
Yes.
I'm already 33, but I still want to be a Pokemon master. It's my greatest dream to be able to go to worlds and to compete and to represent my country and to represent the females. So uh, when Pogo wasn't around yet, I was really trying to get into the competitive VGC, and it was
No.
hard because there was already so many established players. There are so many moves to take into account, strategies, and all that. So it was hard. So my first foray into the competitive scene was through Silph, and because of Silph, yeah, I really I was playing. I played Silph for like 2 seasons, I think. Yeah, until I started to get very busy with work.
Mm.
So I didn't do too well in season one. I mean, I guess it was okay, but in season two, I went super hardcore, and eventually, I ended at number 6, I think, in the Philippines. But then
Wow.
at that time, but it was through the with the help of so many friends, honestly. I mean, my first ever coach was actually the Nut 93. A lot of my knowledge is from him, and I'm really grateful to him. And then eventually I went through several different other coaches, and now I'm with these Spanks. So really, without those coaches guiding me, I wouldn't be able to reach where I am right now with PVP. So sorry, going back to the regional. So the first regionals that I participated in was with Silph, and it was there that I met so many amazing people. It was really fun to just geek out with all of these people who love tapping their games. It was so fun, and that experience really stuck with me. So I said to myself, if I ever get to participate, if there's absolutely any opportunity that this might happen again in an official setting, I would do it. So even if the official regional happened during the pandemic, I said to myself, I don't know how I will get to Worlds if I ever do get to qualify, but I mean, nothing to lose. It's worth a shot. I mean, I'll just try to play from home anyway. So there were 2 rounds actually. So the first one was just within the Philippines. We had this tournament here. I think I ended 15. No, I was I no I think I ended up at ninth. So I
Oh,
was already very positive that only the top 8 would advance. So I told myself, oh, okay, I mean, at least I was able to experience it, and that's really what matters. And then they announced that no, it's the top 16 advancing, and then the top 16 from the country will be competing with the other countries in Asia Pacific.
mhm.
So that was the second stage. That one was really tough because I think I had my first loss was in the second round against Roger Chen. He was so good. He was reading me left and right. And and then through that experience I really realized that even if you keep practicing there and you keep trying to better yourself, there will always be someone who's a lot better than you. So you absolutely cannot be complacent if you want to become the very best. So you have to keep practicing. the thing is that requires a lot of time,
Yeah.
and that's not something that I always have control over. So work takes up a lot of my time, honestly. And more recently, we've been moving to a new house, so that's another huge chunk of my time gone. But I guess they just opened up a region because it's a qualifiers. I think it's a qualifier tournament for Asia Pacific. I will maybe attempt that. I'm not sure yet. It depends on my mood or depends on my workload at that time, honestly. But I'm inclined to try again because I still do want to become a Pokemon master someday.
Well, I think one of the very things that really sometimes stop people is themselves at a certain point. If they
Yeah,
just put their mind into it, and obviously there are factors that allow them to continue to be on that path, there really is nothing that stops them other than themselves. So
yeah,
I would say, if with the age that you mentioned, there really is not a barrier that neither stops you and a lot of other female players and players overall, for all that matter, into just keep trying, because in the end it's true what you said. You learn a lot by winning, you learn a lot by participating, but it never should be that if you're smart to just keep on with the times, if you want to keep improving, because as we have noticed, the the way in which the PvP goes, it can stay stalled, or it could just change from one night to another. Just with one
yeah,
move change, as we have seen able to recently, well, recently, as were able to see when Wing Attack got this
yeah,
buff, it just changed a lot of things from one day to the next one. So it does really pay off to keep on the track of consistency through every single thing. And I would
mhm,
assume that once, with all the performance that you were able to put on these tournaments, you should have felt that satisfaction of you doing your best, or you're feeling, I was able to go and face up this, um probably could be called fear or insecurities of saying,
yeah,
do I really want to do it? Do I see
mhm,
myself going into this challenge and overcoming it? But I also must feel that your family and your friends and loved ones also got that sense of, you did your best, and we will be able to be proud of you no matter what you do, or no matter if you get first place, no matter if you get 10, no matter if you get the last one. Just by the sole fact of you putting your heart into it, they're going to, you know support you all the way through.
yeah, for sure. And well, the funny thing is that so whenever I'm playing GBL, my family knows that it's best to not talk to me while I'm playing. So they know that I need to be able to concentrate when I'm doing PvP. And so since this year, Worlds will be held in Japan, Yokohama, right?
Mhm.
So it's honestly very easy to get there since I'm already in Asia. And then I randomly brought up the subject of last chance qualifiers happening in Japan. And my sister was like, well, what's stopping you from signing up? Let's go. Let's just try. I mean, we get to experience the city, which is really great. And then at the same time, you get a chance to try to become a Pokemon master. I mean, what's there to lose? So, yeah, I mean, having that support as well from from your support system, whether it be your family, your friends, partner, or whoever, right? I think that's very important. And if you're able to feel that genuine support from them, that really fuels you even more to try to compete, or really that it gives you the confidence to compete and really brush aside that doubt that what if I make lots of mistakes? What if I make a fool of myself, right? When I'm competing, especially when you're on stage. So because you're just naturally, you feel that support from them, and then at the same time that helps you enjoy what you're doing, which I think is a very important part of GBL. If you're not enjoying anymore, take a break. But
I
if you're
agree.
enjoying and you believe that you're still able to learn something, then sure, keep going. There will be losses for sure, because there are a lot of people who are just really better than us, and we have to try to improve ourselves as well. But just keep trying, keep enjoying, keep learning.
I agree 100% with you. And onto this topic, and I would love to know your perception, your opinions and feelings about this. It really shows, and again, aligned with this feature in which we were able to bring female Pokemon Go players. Uh, Given this current panorama of how competitive Pokemon Go is, it's really exciting to see the amount of female players that, like you, have been able to just take that step and just been able to prove a very uh, amazing gameplays and strategies and visibility, because at the end it's really important to pinpoint that there's a visibility of players that probably many years before and many seasons before, there probably was not that support that would came not only from female players but from the community itself, to just encourage them and say, hey, we also believe that you can do it. So to be able to see this on a lot of players, like uh, probably the ones that pop into my mind, Bitter Power, NA Huff, you itself,
Mhm.
um, probably I'm skipping a lot, but Bubble Mouse, for example, as well. Um, and not only into the Pokemon Go, uh, like world championships or regional, international, but also on Silph as well. So it how makes you seeing this progress and into bringing these players into the scene and giving that visibility, and how do you feel like that tendency can just get bigger and bigger? What probably would you say it's needed for them to be more comfortable with this participation and encouragement to just participate into these tournaments?
Okay. So I was honestly very lucky enough to be part of the initial movement for Girls at PGT. So it was, imagine, we just started with a very small Twitter DM group back then. And we were just trying to reach out to as many female players as possible that we could find, and really encourage them to feel more comfortable with playing, putting themselves out there. So it was a huge effort, and to see all of these amazing female players right now feeling a lot more comfortable in their own skin, feeling very confident with themselves, even it feels great. But I think there has to be also, a very conscious effort to maintain to remind ourselves what real inclusion is. So there's a tendency sometimes that when we're saying, okay, we want the girls to be recognized, we want them to be seen, it's sometimes done at the expense of the other genders. They're being oppressed as well, and that's not right at all. That should not be the case. Real inclusion, or real equality for that matter, means that both genders are, well represented, or both genders have equal opportunities to speak up, to to express themselves, of course, in a polite way, or in the nicest way possible. So I think the effort has to be that, okay, we are really, trying to elevate women, but we should be very careful when it comes to speaking about men as well. We should not be saying, oh, okay, this girl is better than this guy. No, no, no. We can just stop at, this girl is amazing. Let's support her. And then when we see guys who are really performing well and they have good character, they're really good people, we elevate them as well. So I think that has to be, that's the main challenge for a lot of us. We should not just be elevating people. We should be as inclusive as we can possibly be, and be maintaining that equality.
Yeah, it's I feel like with that same perspective is how a lot of other, at least on previous um, talks that we were able to have with players that are from this side of the country and that also come from both Central America and South America, in which they feel like there's still a lot of things that need to be done for women to be up to the level of this players that we get to see again being featured in the biggest events, or they can be able to perform to that point in which they move ahead and they even become quarterfinalists, semifinalists, or even participants on the world championship. So I do feel like one key aspect of what you're saying is really something that should stand up whenever you see someone, regardless of the gender, that performs to a very, a high level. Feature them, encourage them to, to be humble onto their way of playing, and to the people that they are, that they get to participate but feel like they're missing that extra to just probably hone their strategies or figure out best matches, uh, sorry, best matchups, or probably get a much better sense on how other players probably perform. Be able to approach those people, be able to approach those players, try to offer whatever advice, because at the end, one more, one fresh way of being viewing a battle can really make the difference in most of the cases. So it do believe that, like you're saying, it's really important that that happens with anyone, be it men, be it women, be it someone else, regardless of gender. That probably should be the way to go. It's really great stuff. And um kind of like over this section of the podcast, I usually start talking about more, let's say, carefree kind of questions that also have to deal with the interviewer. Well, sorry, with the guest. Uh, but one of the things that usually gets asked a lot with the other guests is something about their personality and how it relates to their favorite Pokemon. So I think up to this point, personally, I don't know which is your favorite Pokemon. That would be probably a great thing to know, and also just to be able to understand why that, let's say, likeness to that particular species or family even of, or evolution, if it has, that would be really really great to know.
All right. So I guess this will be a very funny story to share. My favorite Pokemon is actually Magikarp.
Wow.
So I love Magikarp, yes, because, well, first of all, it looks really funny. It's cute. It looks really funny. But at the same time, what I really like about Magikarp is that it works really hard to be able to evolve. And linking that to my personality, I am actually not just a bit. I am so much of a workaholic. I believe that if there's something that I want, can I can achieve that no matter what, as long as I work hard for that specific thing or that specific event, achievement, whatever it may be. So that's why I really love Magikarp. I mean, imagine a small fish flopping about, eventually growing into this really kick-ass Gyarados, who's still not a dragon up until now, even if it's based on a dragon, right? So yeah, I think a lot of people really find it funny when I say I love Magikarp. It's really cute. It's hardworking. It's a useless Pokemon. No, you just have to really try to get to know it better. The origin story of how it became a Gyarados. Well, it got really angry, right? And well, so it
And
wanted to prove itself.
yeah,
So yeah.
but it's a great story, honestly. I know that there's I know for a fact there was this short that was published not too long ago. I don't know if it happened last year or not. That again,
Mhm.
it was not that long ago. That was actually featured by the Pokemon channel about the story of a magic
Yeah.
card that it's taken care by a kid, and eventually it does become a Gyarados, but it does remember their owner. So I think that there really is a charm in Magikarp in when you look at it past the, let's call it, the uselessness that the Pokédex and other media kind of like want to put on it, but it really does pay off when you look at the the whole metaphor of Magikarp and Gyarados. So that really doesn't have to, again, it's kind of like a taboo of looking at Magikarp as a useless thing when it really should be looked as kind of like a, and something that is really funny because we discussed this very same thing, and again I bring her up a lot, but with Tessa, because Tessa's favorite Pokemon is Milotic, and also that has to do a lot with
Yeah.
how it goes from Phoebus and how it kind of like gets overlooked until it becomes
Mhm.
something really pretty and admired by a lot of people. So it
Yeah.
really, it's great to see this parallel on stories, from the appearances can be able to be deceiving, and really have to look at people from the inside, from their true feelings and their personality,
Mhm.
to hard work pays off and how it relates that into your case. So that's really great. In the case, in this in the universe, or let's say in the scenario in which Magikarp and Gyarados couldn't exist, which would probably you put as your second favorite Pokemon?
Wait, this is a very hard question. Hmm. I guess it's not just one, but it's the whole Charmander line
Mm-hmm.
because of the episode in the anime where Charmander
Oh,
almost, oh, oh God, yeah, I got very, as a kid, I cried over that episode, and whenever I see that episode until now, I get really emotional because I feel for Charmander.
mm,
Yeah, I guess it's because of that, and also I don't know why, but I tend to lean towards fire type Pokemon, fire type starters in particular. So I love Charmander, it's so cute, and because of that story.
mhm.
And then Charizard is just really so cool and kick ass. I
Yeah,
would like to ride one someday if Pokemon becomes real. I would like to ride the Charizard someday.
that would be a great experience. Ride a Charizard, pay that much, like millions of dollars, but sure, you can go ahead and ride
Mm,
a very cool fire dragon that is not a dragon as well. So yeah,
yes.
uh, neglected dragon types from Kanto, mm, a lot.
Yes.
Now, this is very interesting to know from the guests. In your case, which would be the Pokemon that you least like the one that you kind of like look at it and sometimes think, why did they even came up with this design? Why does it have any sense of exceeding into the series? Is there one or a couple of those that you have on mind?
Well, it's not really the appearance, but it's just in terms of PvP. I hate Bastidon so much.
No.
That's the word.
Caleb, please
I
don't hear this. Caleb,
hate. No,
nothing
it's
again.
just like ever since Kingdom Cup. So back in Silph, ever since Kingdom Cup, I've always disliked Bastidon. Okay, I'm toning down the term dislike. I've always disliked Bastidon because the mashups are very polarizing. It's either you hard win or you hard lose with Bastidon. So because I did not like Bastidon, I used Steelix and Bronzong
Mhm.
at that time. And I was not winning tournaments at all. So the one tournament that I used Bastodon in, I ended up second place, I think. But after that, I did not build another Bastodon. I don't have an Excel Bastodon, and I do not intend to make one because I really don't like that Pokemon.
Oh no.
It's so annoying. You just yeah. Okay. Whew. I will calm down. I will calm down.
It's fine. It's fine. I know a lot of people that would probably get behind you in the idea of Bastion not existing into this world. I personally, even though I would probably say, and would also ask this to you, but as a personal favorite, I really like Steel type Pokemon, and that includes a lot of, you know, call it Steelix. Steelix probably would probably be my. I would really put it in top two, three as my favorite Pokemon. I really like the design and even how it became from
Yeah.
Onyx to Steelix to Mega Steelix. Um, but Bastion is one of those Pokemon that I ended up just at the very beginning not caring a lot about it, but eventually kind of like grew on me, and kind of like that culture of hating it kind of like just make me like it to a certain point. Saying, you know, it's funny to just like the Pokemon. You know, it at some point it has to be useful. At some point. Um, I mean, um, if you were given the chance, I really also like asking this question to other guys, but if you were given the chance to either let's call it redesign in terms of appearance or redesign in terms of the typing that it has, one Pokemon that already exists, which one would you be able to do? Or would you like to do in this?
Hmm. I that's a very good question. I haven't really thought about that before. Well, I guess I would like to correct Gyarados' typing. It should be dragon at some point, even if it's just a mega evolution, let's say.
A pure
In terms
dragon
of
type
this,
or water dragon, dragon
um,
flying?
what water dragon would
Yeah,
be nice. Yeah, like Indra. In terms of appearance, there are a lot of new Pokemon that don't make sense to me. The ones in Scarlet and Violet.
oh,
The design is a bit weird for me, but because I love Pokemon, I try to enjoy those months anyway. Like I guess it would have been nice to see a lot more depth when when it comes to the what do you call that? You have the paradox and then the other type,
right.
the the other
The
one, the modern ones.
Yeah, I think they call it like both. They call it both paradox Pokemon. Like they only make
Oh,
that difference of the regions, but I think
oh,
maybe I'm wrong. But as far as I know, they also like they refer to them as paradox Pokemon nonetheless. So
oh, right. Oh yeah, yeah, right, right. Like the steel type Tyranitar just looks like yeah, a Tyranitar got bloated into a balloon and it was they added some coating to it. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean the design looks pretty weird, but I would I guess if they added a bit more story to how those paradox Pokemon came to be, then I would be able to appreciate them more.
right.
But yeah.
That apparently that what I get is that they can only just make them just for the sake of saying, they come from the future and they're like revisited versions of
Yeah.
what the current Pokemon are. I
Mhm.
get you in the sense that, for example, one of the Pokemon that really kind of like had a lot of trouble to get behind in terms of paradox was its name. It's Iron Hands, but it basically would be like future
Oh yeah.
Hariyama. Like I get
Yes.
it, but that the fact that it kind of like just has like these floating hands, and when you look at the sprite animation, actually I don't know if you remember it, but kind of like just had like the static hands. It never does something kind of like floating or magnetic. It's just like there.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah,
why?
exactly. Yeah, it's supposed to be static hands, not iron hands, right?
Right, it's like
And
just tail
and
hands
it's
or
steel
something like
type.
that.
Yeah. It's steel type, so they can easily introduce like a concept of magnetism and all of that. But
Sure,
yeah,
sure, I get it.
mhm.
uh Given that you you're really into this composition of themes, if you were to own your own or to have your own gym, would you give it a theme as to having a specific type of Pokemon in your team, or would you rather create a like kind of like what the champions are, a much more balance in terms of I will have a, let's say, a fire type, but I'll also have kind of like a water ground kind of Pokemon. How would you probably balance that out?
I think I would go with like a the second option, the champion type of composition, only because I want to be able to use my favorite Pokemon like
Yeah,
Gyarados and Charizard or yeah, or what else? What's my favorite PvP mon to use? Well, I do like Azu, and Azu is also good in VGC.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
So yeah, I would want a bit of like balance to it. I would also want to use like very unassuming Pokemon, like let's say what's the name of that thing? The small thing with the spikes. Pyukumuku. Yeah,
Piku Miku.
that thing. Yeah, it's super bulky, it's unassuming, and you can make strats out of it. But I mean, it's just one particular strat that it's hard to pull off, but I think it would be very interesting. So yeah, I would like to use Pokemon that I really enjoy. At the same time, I would like to use some very surprising Pokemon. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a really great answer. Um, and when you look at kind of like how the future of what this year looks like for Pokemon Go, probably besides what means or what the championship, like international championships, mean, the Go Fest and all those
Mhm.
events that are throughout the year. What are you most excited about? What kind of like keeps you thinking that this year might be able to, or what do you think would be able to make this year in Pokemon Go worthwhile?
Honestly, I cannot think of anything but worlds. It's really that the world championships, or it's really the tournaments because they're bringing everyone together. You get to highlight so many different facets of the game because you have to be able to catch a lot of Pokemon before you get to build the really good ones, right? The meta relevant ones for PvP. So really, it's just the world championships, and then I guess I still do have hope every time the season resets for GPL. I try to get excited about any potential move changes and meta shakeups because I mean the meta has become very stale because of the recent change. So I would like to see. I'm interested to see how they'll introduce a couple more improvements, so to speak. Because I did see Michael of Niantic. He
Hmm.
tweeted something about they were really going through all of these plans and they're having a lot of considerations and all that. And he said that you know what, just trust us that we're doing everything that we can. We have a lot more of updates to share. So yeah, I would like to think that he has a big hand in what's in everything that's happening, and that small hiccup, let's say, in the meta, it being stale, this stale, to the point that it is right now, that's just temporary because he has a much bigger plan or a long term plan for the whole competitive scene.
Right. I would assume, and this is me talking with a lot of friends, and I'm just probably going to take a very, we'll call it,
Mhm.
so sometime in Latin American we call it, we're kind of like just use the expression of making like a triple, in terms that it's a very
Mhm.
very far-fetched supposition of what it's going to be like. But I'm
Mhm.
assuming that in preparation for Worlds next season, I don't know when this one is. I think it ends on June, I
Yeah, I
think
think so.
maybe. Next season comes, it's will actually be kind of like what we had last year. That it's going to be that intermediate season that is really not going to bring any other type of changes. And once war finishes, we're going to probably going to see something kind of like what happened on last year as well. That really got that big update on moves and changes on moves, because I would
Mhm.
assume that in preparation for what they're going to have at that, given
Yeah.
how the regionals and internationals happened throughout this year and at the
Mhm.
end of last year, they just probably would want to keep players going with that idea of what their strategies have been able to play to. And once they feel confident that that cycle is over, then they're going to just do that whole shakeup like they did last year. So that's
Yeah.
probably that. I don't know if I want to be wrong or right about it. Again, it's kind of like one of those excitements of things that
Mhm.
will come up. Definitely, for sure, we're going to be. My guess is that we're going to be seeing a big shakeup before the end of the year.
Mhm.
When that shakeup comes, we'll see. But
Yeah.
something to really think.
Yeah,
Um,
let's hope for the best.
yeah, let's hope for the best for all of us first of all, then for the game, because in the end
Yeah.
we'll transcend this one way or another. The community will be find a way to transcend any situation that is faced with.
Mhm.
Kind of like to wrap up this amazing talk that we have been able to to have throughout this couple minutes and almost an hour. Um, what as if you were given a microphone like right now, you're giving your voice, you're giving your space to direct your way of seeing the game or seeing this current state of the the community, the good and the bad. If you were given the chance to just voice out what you hope us as the players, as the people that do streams, as the people that create other type of media that is related to Pokemon Go, what should we do? What should we be able to just sit up on, let's say, tomorrow morning or tonight or at our soonest break to just stop and say, we should be able to start doing this to make the community better?
Hmm. Wow. I've never really thought about that before, to be completely honest. But I think if I were to share like sentiments, it would be really to create a more, not more, a less toxic place for for spaces actually for the whole community. I am aware that there are some streams whose branding would be, really joking around a lot to the point that it becomes a bit toxic. So especially if you're a new chatter, let's say, and then you're seeing all of these conversations, you would actually get anxious because you're not sure if they're really just kidding around or they're already, trying to insult each other. So that kind of thing. Although, again, I am aware that it's the branding of some streams, it's a branding of some people, and I guess that's fine. I will leave that to them. But if we could try to really create a lot of safe spaces for people to share their experiences. Let's say I'm a new player. I want to learn about PvP, and I enter into the stream. I'm just asking for tips, and then I'm getting all of these sarcastic replies. That would make me feel unwelcome, honestly. So I hope that's something that all of us, not just content creators, but really all of us members of the community can try to create. So, encourage people to ask, and then when we supply solutions or if we give answers, let's just try to be nice to people so that they can stay in our community and they can encourage more people to join as well. Because if this is something that I always share to my artists, to my directs, if you absolutely have to decide to do just one thing, do something good. And that thing will spread across so many people. So if you're stuck between one thing or the other, choose what is good and choose what that thing is that will make people feel good about themselves as well. And then that will create a very prosperous community, really.
That's definitely a very good message. And kind of like a last question that it's basically one of the most important questions that we ask here in the podcast is: pineapple on pizza is a yes or a no?
Oh my God. I might lose friends by saying this, but pineapple on pizza is fine.
Mm,
I like how it cuts through the taste of the meat sometimes, but it depends on how it's cooked. Like if the pineapple is super sweet, it's a no. But if the pineapple is more on the sour side, then I would understand. There.
okay.
Oh no! Oh
No,
no!
no, no.
Did
I
I say the
mean,
wrong
I have no
thing?
judgment over people who love who like pineapple. I mean, there has been a wide range of opinions in it so far. There's people that get behind the idea of pineapple on pizza. There's people that absolutely despise it. There's people that wouldn't pronounce themselves actually like as a completely yes or as a completely no. There will be like,
Mhm.
if there's really no other options, sure, I'll eat it. But if there's other options, obviously I'm probably going to pick something else. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I mean, yes or no. You have to, throw yourself out there in the dark as a, I like it, I don't like it. So at least you came up with your very, you know, justified way of defending the flavor of pineapple pizza. So I props to you on that.
Thank you, thank you. I try my best.
That's great. Um, well, again, thank you so much for all your insights on life. I cannot stress it enough. I really was looking forward to close up this month with a very great, um, not probably profound well, probably profound in one sense, but also very uh, wide opening and refreshing way of seeing the game or seeing it at these experiences coming from other people around the world. And I'm glad that it was you. Hopefully, this can also mark the or pave the way for more people who, again, probably might not, or might speak both languages or just one language to also join into the podcast, because I would love to have that uh that integration of both sides of the world, or a lot of sides of the world. So again, I want to thank you so much for all the time, for all your patience with my great, not so great English. For me, it's not my like foreign language, but I try to do my best.
Oh,
I, I, I,
thank
I,
you.
I try so many years to kind of like perfect it, but I probably have failed. But thank you for understanding that
You're
as well.
doing great. I promise you're doing great, and thank you so much for accommodating me as well. I mean, I am comfortable with some Spanish, but I'm not confident to speak it yet. So thank you. I mean, I really appreciate your time and being accommodating.
Again, for me, it was truly an honor. Um, so for this episode, that probably just be the way to wrap it up. Um, we know that this week, no, do we have a championship like this weekend? I'm sure that there's a
I,
championship. Like I guess
I
there's a
think so. Yeah,
regional.
I think so.
Uh,
For Twin, is that it?
yeah,
I'm
for
not sure.
Quinn might be. I will probably have to look it. But we just recently finished the Rocket event. It was probably a very great one. I hope that you were able to get some good shadows. Mine were mostly garbage, but there might be one or two that got the save of it. Next week we're getting into the debut of Rimbombi and
This,
Cutifly and Rimbombi.
yeah.
That sure
Mhm.
looks to something different, probably. So
Mhm.
there's still activity in the game, and we
Oh yeah.
we're really looking forward to what's coming next.
Hmm.
So thank you for all the people that here again. Once again, one more time, thank you, Reezachi. And I hope that you all get to have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you on next time.